It is time for your favorite Android podcast from the crew of blindandroidusers.com. Kick back and enjoy another fine episode from these Google fanboys as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the Blind Android Users podcast. I'm Ed Green and I'm joined this week by my co-hosts Warren Carr and Austin Pinto and special guest from Live Accessible, Carrie Morales. We're recording on Saturday, the 15th of May, 2021. On this week, Austin will bring us up to speed with what's been happening in the announcement section. We're moving Android basics on a little bit, and we're going to start to talk about the must-have apps that you should have on your phone. And this is going to be a long-running feature, so Warren is going to take us through the categories of apps that we're going to be looking at in the coming weeks. In the In Focus section this week, I'm going to be giving you a demonstration of an app that's been the talk of social media for the last year and has finally made it to Android, and that is Clubhouse. In our App of the Week section, we're going to return to web views, and Warren's going to talk to us about how to manage web views on your phone.
Then we have episode 4 in our series on the commentary screen reader from Mariam Mosen.
And Kerry is going to be giving us the My Android Journey section this week. How are we all, folks? Good evening from London.
Hello there, everybody. Warren Carr here on the other side of the pond, hiding my knucklehead somewhere here in the state of Washington.
Austin Pinto in India. There are cyclones coming here from all directions. We are having winds of like up to 160 to 180 kilometers and a lot of rains forecasted in the next 2-3 days. So the weather is going to be nice, but a lot of damage. So that is one sad thing.
Just let us know that your house is still standing after all of these, Austin. That's frightening.
Yeah, it'll stand. Yeah, it's coming from all directions. It's like 2-3 cyclones at one time. So
wow, that's frightening.
Wow. Kerry, welcome. You hosted us last week. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Ed. Hi, Warren. Hi, Austin. Thank you so much for inviting me on here. Yes, last week you guys were on my channel on a live stream talking all about Android and about how blind people do use Android and why we choose to use Android. So it's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited for this podcast.
Thanks for joining. We all had fun last week, didn't we, guys?
We sure did have fun. I think that
Good
was
show.
the coolest live stream we had. That was so nice.
It was really good. So then, Austin, what's been happening?
this week there are lots of big announcements happening. First announcement is that we are just maybe 40 plays short of 7,000 plays in less than 5 months. So that is a big achievement. The next announcement is you have another way of now getting in touch with us, that is on Clubhouse. So you can join blind Android users on Clubhouse. The second big announcement is that some days back, I had posted Clubhouse demo on YouTube. Now we are adding the same demo to the podcast because some of you listen to it on podcasting apps, on our website and other ways. And if you have seen the Clubhouse demo before, it is the same thing. But if you have not seen, then you can stay tuned and enjoy the nice demo brought to us by Edward. That is it from the announcements.
And just to mark your calendars this week, I think, if I'm not mistaken, hopefully Warren or someone will be able to confirm, I think this week is Google I.O., is it?
Google I.O. I think that's Tuesday, isn't it? The 18th. And we probably have a special coverage of that maybe on Wednesday if we're able to. I am not making promises, but if we do have Android 12 public beta come up, then we definitely are going to be talking about that and how to go about enrolling for that beta, which is OTA, and there's no manual flashing or things like that. I hope Google keeps to that schedule, and I'm strongly believing that that would be the case. So if that happens, we probably have a special 10-minute or whatever episode segment either on that Tuesday or on Wednesday, one of those two.
And I think for you lucky boys and girls, I might post some links about how to register for some things. It's all virtual, so you can sign up, although I think places do book out. One of the sessions, I don't read these mail shots particularly assiduously, but one of them talked about virtual swag. I've no idea what virtual swag might be. I'm hoping it's chunky Google Play coupons or something, but I'll try and stick a link in the show notes to something where there might be some swag available if all the places haven't gone. Moving on then, and the Android Basics section over the past few weeks has been covering various aspects to do with really setting up your phone and getting it up and running the way you want it. So we've looked at the Play Store, we've looked at launchers, settings, notifications, file managers, a few other things as well. Now we're going to turn our minds, and this is partly by popular request, to different apps that we think you should have on your phone, particularly as blind people. The idea is we'll look at different categories over future weeks, and we'll do a deep dive into that category on a given week, and we'll talk about the different apps that you might want to try out in that category. Warren, do you want to take us through what we're thinking a schedule might look like?
Definitely, Ed. When we talk about phones, of course, we're talking about those of us who are blind, and that's what this podcast is all about. And so what happens is that when you have a phone as a blind person, there's certain apps that you need to have on your phone to make that experience a better experience. And these are the ones that we think, or these are the categories that we think would make the most meaning for a blind person. And among those categories, these are the ones that we thought make the most sense. We have OCR packages, we have ebook readers, we have audiobook players, we have TTS engines, navigational apps, shopping apps, shipping and tracking apps, podcast apps or podcast players. We have the low vision category, we have music players, we have streaming apps, we have color detection, news readers, currency recognizers, Braille-related apps, assistant apps, email clients, social networks, for those of you who are the social butterflies out there, traveling and lodging apps, and we have text editors. These are some of the categories that we will be talking about in the next several months. We'll take each of these categories and talk about the must-have apps in those categories. And also, we will be glad to have you guys suggest some apps that you think would fall into these categories as we talk about these different categories in our upcoming episodes for the next several months. Those are the ones that I think we should be talking about, guys. Now, if you guys have any other ones that you think, or a category that you think would go in here, then we will add that as we go along. You guys make your comments about these things and we'll move on.
I think we can add a health category also, like Google Fit apps.
That should be category number 21, because there are a lot of people out there using Fitbits or watches, or even your phone could have all of that health and fitness things. So definitely that would be category number 21, health.
Just saying, you might want to promote that category to coincide with my summer holidays, because I'm going to have nothing to contribute to that whatsoever. If you want a gambling category or an alcohol category or a sports score category, then fine. But health and fitness, yeah, no. I'm sure it's lovely. I'm sure it's lovely.
What do you think, Carrie? Because, you know, we need those health and fitness type of apps. I'm not necessarily one of those. I mean, I'm usually out there, hiking or whatever, most especially now the summer's coming to shine. And we like hiking out here. So I don't think I need something necessarily to be tracking my steps or whatever. I know that I've done a lot. So
absolutely. I think the health and fitness is definitely something that, would be a great category. I have a Fitbit, and it's not the most accessible thing, no, but I still like to go into the app and see how many steps I took. And it's one of those things you can go to your friends and be like, hey, I took more steps than you today. And you can make a competition or just even set a goal for yourself. If you want to lose weight, gain weight, or if you just want to maintain it, it's a good way to track that kind of thing. And I think that can be very valuable. But now we have 21 categories, so we have to think of another one to make it even.
We got to make it even, right? Austin, you suggested the health and fitness. So how about I cede this to you and have you give us a 22nd category? Which one do you think is going to be our 22nd category? So we'll make it even and fair.
we can have audio recorders.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Exactamundo. See, that's what I'm talking about. 2 heads or 4 heads are better than one, you see. So we got audio recorders. That's a beautiful category. How on earth did I forget that, All right, so I'm going to run through these things quickly again so that we know that we have it. So 1, OCR packages. 2, ebook readers. 3, audiobook players. 4, TTS engines. 5, navigational apps. 6, shopping apps. 7, shipping and tracking. 8, podcasting apps. 9, low vision. 10, music players. 11, streaming apps. 12, color detection. 13, news readers. 14, currency recognizers. 15, Braille related apps. 16, assistant apps. 17, email clients. 18, social apps. 19, travel and lodging. 20, text editors. 21, health and fitness. And 22, audio recorders. Absolutely beautiful. I love this setup.
Thanks, Warren. That's a great schedule we've got there. Also, if you think there are any categories we've missed, then by all means, get in touch with us. Austin will give you the various ways to do that at the end of the show. Maybe, of course, that we view categories differently to the way you're thinking about them. So we may have missed something or we may not have done, but do feel free to suggest categories as well. And then we can keep this going. But as you'll see, that's, 21 weeks of content. So 4 or 5 months worth should keep you all out of trouble.
Well, one thing I will comment on is it's interesting to have these categories because I think there are some apps that overlap. There's some apps that do text editing and recording, and then there's some apps that are navigation and OCR at the same time. So
and they may feature twice. The same with Spotify. Is it a music app or a streaming app? They'll overlap, and that's what I mean, that people might view the categories a bit differently. So they might think we've missed a category and we haven't, or they'll suggest something that we've missed, but maybe we'll shoehorn it into something else. So they're guides, aren't they, really?
So definitely
our discussion.
If you guys think we've missed a category, let us know on our email list or on our Telegram, whatever, and definitely we'll include that. And before we know it, probably this thing is going to balloon to like maybe 50 categories. Who knows?
It will be. I already mentioned gambling. No one seems to take me up on it.
Well, blind people need to make money too, right?
Yeah.
So if
there was a room on Clubhouse devoted to blind people using betting apps that I joined the other week.
Thank you.
So it is a thing, and maybe we can get some guests.
Yeah.
There seems to be a Clubhouse room for everything now.
Yeah, for sure. Even one for blind Android users. Which I created not exclusively for this, but essentially to grab the domain effectively before someone else did it.
That's right.
Brilliant. Yeah, so hopefully that segment will be of benefit to people. We're moving on to the In Focus section this week, and it is, as Austin trailed at the beginning, as I said when we introduced the podcast, the app Clubhouse has now been introduced on Android, and in this section I give you a whistle-stop tour of how you sign up for and use the service. this week I'm going to demonstrate a social media app which has recently arrived on Android called Clubhouse. Clubhouse was launched on iOS in beta a little over a year ago. It still is in beta and was rolled out to the US Play Store this week. That's the week of the 10th of May, and it will be coming to other English-speaking Play Stores very soon. It may well already be in Canada and the UK by the time you listen to this, but if it's not, it will be shortly. What's unique about Clubhouse is that it's an audio-only social media app. So there's no text, there's no video, it's all entirely voice-driven. It's not an app aimed at blind people. I think it has around 10 million registered users, not all active, obviously, but that'll give you a feel for the span of the user base. It's much wider than the blindness community, and indeed many celebrities have used it. Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, Anthony Fauci, the US medic who fronts up the COVID coverage, was on there the other day. So an app that has really got some traction in the social media landscape. It is invite only at the minute. It is in beta. So we'll have a look at the registration screen when we go into the app. Once you have registered, there are a couple of ways that you might get invited. It asks people for permission to view their contacts, and if someone is already on the app who has your number stored in their contacts and they've allowed their contacts to be viewable by Clubhouse, they will be invited to authorize your admission. If not, if you ask around, you may well be able to get an invite off someone you know, perhaps someone in the Blind Android Users group, who knows, or other friends that you may have or contacts who are on the app already. I usually say when I'm demonstrating something that what you will hear on your end may well be a little bit different to what I hear on mine, and vice versa when we're looking at these apps. That's particularly true of Clubhouse because it's an app that gets updated very, very frequently as new features get added, things get fixed. They do seem to roll out updates and fix things with remarkable rapidity. There were quite a few issues earlier on the iOS side where bits of the app weren't particularly accessible. A lot of that has got fixed. The Android app at the minute doesn't have all of the features that the iOS app does, and I'll talk about some of that in a minute when we delve into the app. So let's get started.
Clubhouse has 6 notifications. Column 5.
And here's Clubhouse. Now, I'm logged out of it now, so I'm hoping that when I go in there, it prevents me with an option either to sign in or register. I won't actually register because I have an account already. I shall take you through the registration screen, though.
Clubhouse. Party popper, welcome. Out of grid. We're working hard to get Clubhouse ready for everyone. When we wrap up the finishing touches, we're adding people gradually to make sure nothing breaks. Smiley face, anyone can join with an invite from an existing user or reserve your username, and we'll text you if you have a friend on the app who can let you in. We are so grateful you're here and can't wait to have you join. Folded hands, medium skin tone, house call, broken into Clubhouse team.
So that's what I was saying earlier. You can either get invited, or if your number is stored in the contacts of someone who has allowed their contacts to be viewable, they can let you in themselves. They'll get notified that you've joined. Clubhouse has a lot of notifications. We'll talk about that later.
Get your username button. Get your username.
So,
Tap to activate.
So this is the button you want to register to get your username.
Editing phone number. Edit box. Showing title keyboard. Double tap and hold to lock press.
So once we're in a phone number field, I'm going to flick left.
United Kingdom phone code is +44. +44. Double tap to activate.
So you'll want to check what that country code is set to. When I first registered for Clubhouse, it didn't think I was in the United Kingdom. That was, I have to confess, on my rarely used iOS device because I've been in since February, so it wasn't available officially on Android then.
Enter your phone number.
So it took us to the phone number field, which we're back at.
I enter your number. You're agreeing to our next button. Next. Double tap to activate.
So you enter a phone number. I might put one in just so we can see this next screen, and then hopefully I can cancel it before I do anything drastic. Oops. No, that one's a dash. We'll put 0.
4 7 7 7 7 7 7 7 7 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 2 1
Let me just check that's enough digits.
07777111111.
Yeah. Out of the entirely fictitious phone number. I'll hit next.
Editing. Password. Edit box. Showing. Enter the code we just texted you. Back. Button. Enter the editing. Didn't receive it. Tap the next button.
So it's not going to let me do that. I'd forgotten quite how the registration process works. So it will have texted that entirely fictitious phone number with a password, which I would enter here. It would then ask me to choose a username. But the screens are fairly straightforward. It's a fairly typical registration process. I don't have a second SIM, unfortunately, so I can't show you exactly how that works. But you'll see that things are nice and labeled on the registration screen at any rate. So what I'm going to do now is to back out of here.
Back button. Keyboard hidden. Oh, button. Back button. 07777111111. Enter field. Editing. Zeros. Back button. Keyboard hidden. Home button. Back button. Back button. Home button. Party popper welcome. You're working hard to get club. Get your username. Have an invite text. Sign in.
So I'm going to sign in instead. So I'm just going to enter in my details to get us logged in. So that's my phone number now entered into the app. The next button for this is not always where you might expect it to be. Actually, it's above the 2 key pretty much on my device. So
6, 3, 2. Text button. Clubhouse. Editing. Password. Edit box. Showing numeric password keyboard. Double tap and hold to long press. Editing options available. Use swipe up then right to view. Message. Clubhouse. Your Clubhouse verification code is 2312.
you're not going to be able to do a right lot with that 4-digit code in this particular instance. I don't mind you having heard it.
Text button. 2, 4, hold. 3, hold. 1, hold. Text button. Club 2, 4, hold. Keyboard hidden.
Now, interestingly, when you enter in your code to log in, you don't need to hit the next button. There is a next button. It's in the same place above the 2 key. But when you're entering in that verification code, you don't need to enter it. So I'm going to have a look at the buttons at the top of the app now, and then I'll explain where we are, and then we'll dive into some of these buttons a bit.
No previous link. No next link.
Yeah.
Electables fire with. Low again. Search button. Device button. Search button.
So at the very top we have search.
Device button. Double upcoming events button. Notifications button. My profile button. 22. My profile button.
So those are our 5 buttons.
Device. Search button.
Search, invites, upcoming events, notifications, and profiles. Now, how does Clubhouse work? Clubhouse essentially allows people to create rooms that you can talk in. That could be an informal discussion between friends. It could be a single person presentation with hundreds of people in the audience. It could be a hybrid of those things. Perhaps there are a few people on stage and a few people listening. I'll explain what the stage is in a minute. So where you are when you enter is on a main feed. And this is called the hallway in Clubhouse. You can have various different types of rooms. You can have private rooms where only nominated people can go. Unless you're one of those, you won't see any of them. There are what's called social rooms. Now, like many other social media apps, Clubhouse works through the premise of following different users, a bit like Twitter does in that respect. So the sorts of rooms you see in your hallway are dictated by the people you've chosen to follow. If you don't follow anybody or join any clubs, I'll talk about clubs in a minute, then you won't see much on your feed. You'll see some trending rooms unless you turn that off in settings, and you might see some fairly random things. But to make Clubhouse interesting, you need to follow people or topics that you yourself are interested in. So a social room, anyone who you are following, you will be able to see that. And if you create a room and make it social, your followers will be able to see it. If someone joins a social room, then their followers can also see it. So sort of the audience for a room expands potentially, depending on who joins it. The third type of rooms are public rooms. That means anyone at all on the app can join them. So those are rooms, and they're a mixture of those three types. Now, there are also rooms within clubs. It's possible to create, perhaps unsurprisingly, given the name on Clubhouse, actual clubs. Think of these as special interest groups or Facebook groups. So we have now a blind Android users club. I created that the other day. It's not particularly active yet because we haven't decided how to use it, but we are recruiting members. So I could start a room just generally. I could make it public. I could make it for my followers and just make it about Android. And it could exist in the hallway, but much better if I've got a special interest topic like that to find a club for it, because then people who are interested in Android and have decided to follow the club or join the club can get notified that that room exists. So you can kind of have a room that's, miscellaneous in a hallway. You can give it a topic name, but you don't have to. But then it's not attached to a club, and obviously it's a bit more difficult, although not impossible, obviously, for those who share that interest to find it. So if there are special interest things, might be a good idea to start a club or find a club with that interest, join it, and then see if that club allows you to create rooms within it. That's a setting controlled by club moderators. Before I dive into more of the app settings, worth just talking through some of the consequences of this still being in beta and all that stuff you heard at the start about the app still growing. When you join, you won't have even though Android itself doesn't have all the features of iOS yet, you won't have all the privileges, for the want of a better word, that more active members who have been on it a while will have. So, for instance, when you join, you'll be able to invite 2 other people. The more you participate on Clubhouse, either by participating in other people's rooms or, better yet, creating your own, you will be able to unlock things on Clubhouse more quickly, such as more invites. The other thing you will be able to unlock is you'll be able to start a club, although it may take a little while for you to be able to do that. Currently, you can only create clubs on iOS, and you can only do some of the club admin things on iOS as well. So I had, annoyingly, to create our Blind Android Club on iOS. When you do that and you're invited to, or if someone does that and you're interested in a club and you want to join it, you become a follower of that club, and then an admin can invite you to join the club fully. If you're a follower of the club, you'll still see club rooms, or some of them anyway. But when you're a fully fledged member, sometimes you see more rooms. Sometimes you're able to start rooms yourself, depending on the rules that the club founder or the club admins have set. So let's go in then and have a look at some of these buttons before we go down the hallway. Let's see what we've got. So search.
Find people and clubs. Edit box. Out of list.
So you can either search for people or search for clubs. Now, I'm going to see what we have by way of cricket on Clubhouse. I quite like. So let's
Show in English. T, port, F, C, C.
do a search for cricket.
I, C, C, K, K. China Cricket Torrent E. Out of list. Port. T, T. Delete. Search.
We'll search.
Showing password keyboard. 1. Create back button. Cricket. Edit box. Find cancel button. Selected. People. Tab. Clubs. Tab. 2 of 2. Clubs.
So once I've keyed that in, I can either search for people or clubs. Now, because I've put in a subject matter, I'm going to search for clubs.
Clubs. Selected. Cricket Stadium. 71 members. 4K followers. In list. Cricket Stadium. Showing items 1 to 6 of 30. Tap to activate. International cricket discussion. 5 members. 1K. Cricket Stadium. 71 members. 4K.
So Cricket Stadium is interesting. What they have done, and I've seen this pop up on my feed because I follow people who are in it. If there's a game of cricket on, they will join it. Some of the people watching it on television will tell those of us without televisions what's happening. So not specifically aimed at blind people, but quite a good thing. So I'm going to go in here and see if I can follow this club.
Keyboard hidden. Go next link. Go next link. At Cricket Stadium. Page. Following. Switch. And Mishra, please help to find HTTPS. Following. Switch. Double tap the
So
toggle.
I'm already following it. What I think it said was that it had 71 members and 4,000 followers. That suggests to me that they want to keep the core membership fairly small, perhaps because members are able to start rooms and they don't want all the followers to. I don't know why, by the way, Talkback is occasionally saying no next link. I'm swiping right. The phone is locked to portrait. So I don't know if that's a slight glitch. As I say, that there's no question that my orientation has been flipped, so it shouldn't be doing that. Not a particularly big deal though. So I'm going to back out of there. So you could key in Android. You would find blind Android users if you did that. You can key in people. So let's do that. Let's key in a person.
No next link. Shuffle back button. Cricket edit box. Find people. People. Show in English. Search. Fourth. Delete. Deleted. Delete. 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 Delete.
Let's see if I can find Austin.
See deleted. Delete. A. Y. U.
I know he's on here because I invited him.
R. T. I. N. Space. Austin. P. L. P. I. N. T. O. L. Search. Fourth. Delete. L. Deleted. Search.
So I've
Showing
keyed
password
in.
keyboard. Back button. Austin Pinto. Edit. Cancel button. Selected. People. Tab.
Now it switched it back to people, which is actually what I want.
Clubs. Tab. Austin Pinto. List. Austin Pinto. Robin Austin. Hello. Austin Pinto.
Oh, we have
Austin Pinto.
2 Austin Pintos. I know which one's ours because I'm already following as it happens, but let's open it up.
Keyboard hidden. Go next link. Back button. Options button. Profile photo button. Change notification options button. Following. Switch. Following.
Yeah, so that's our Austin. I invited him and I'm following him. So you can key in people. You can key in clubs. As you'll have gathered from that, it's quite helpful when people put in biographies because, and I'll show you that in a minute, because then you actually know who they are. So I'm going to go back out of there. And next is invites. I have 5 invites. If you go in here, you can send an invite to someone you would like to be on Clubhouse. Just a few things about this because we're all international. And there was some discussion on the mailing list about whether or not you would get charged for sending a text message were you to invite someone from overseas if your carrier charges for international messages. You would, but all the text message actually does is notify the person that they've been invited. If you have the friend of the number for a friend overseas and you go to invite and you put in that number and you hit whatever it is next, a text message app opens. If you cancel out of that message though and just email the person to say I've invited you, their number will actually be logged by Clubhouse. The text message itself only notifies the potential invitee that they've been invited. It's not necessary to have the Clubhouse invite activated. So if an overseas friend does want you to invite them and you don't want to pay the international text charge, if you incur those, don't worry, you don't have to. Just cancel out the text message when it opens and they will be able to register with their phone number, or indeed if it is already registered, they'll be let in. So that's what the invite button does. You'll only have 2 when you start and it probably won't be your immediate priority, so I'm not going to dive into that.
Upcoming events button.
Now, upcoming events is interesting to look at. This part of the app isn't brilliantly accessible. So as well as entering your hallway, as I talked about, and we'll see more of that in a minute where all the rooms are, it's possible to schedule an event, and that way you're not reliant on someone stumbling across it. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Let's just have a look what we've got in here. As I say, this part of the app has quite a few unlabeled buttons.
Go next link. Back button. Upcoming for you. Unlabeled button. Today. 1955. Learn Italian flag. Italy from 0 to hero superhero medium light skin tone woman topic. Locomiglia from 1955. Double tap to activate. Unlabeled button. Italian language and culture. Unlabeled button. 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 Unlabeled. 20 zeros with a tetragrammaton with a unlabeled button and lip. With the drama attorney, Kevin Canvas, Soyun Choi, Pete Solsich, Rhea Mitch Jackson, Mike Nippier from Legal Experts chat about who owns IP and independent contractor versus employee relationships. Gemstone, out of list. Showing items 1 to 10 to 151. Double tap to activate.
So there are quite a lot of unlabeled buttons between those events. Now, I know that some of these buttons on iOS anyway relate to being able to RSVP to an event. That way you get notified slightly more reliably when it starts. There'll be notifications for it, so you get notified. It still works pretty well, but slightly less reliably, I think, than if you've actually RSVP'd.
2000, seedling plant-based kitchen. Menus and meals for entertaining. From. Showing items 10 to 19 to 151. Unlabeled. Button. Plant-based food plus wellness. Unlabeled. 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 With Colleen. Go. Edible. Lettuce, fair seedling. Whether it's a small group or large outdoor party, let's talk about the easiest, fastest, most delicious. Party with your questions, thoughts, and ideas. Out of list.
I've no idea why that's showing in my events. I'm not vegetarian, but
unlabeled. 2000. Wednesday room chat speech balloon. From. Unlabeled. Observing verbs. Unlabeled. Button. Unlabeled. Button. Unlabeled. Unlabeled. With introvert. Nature restored. Trees or empire. 2000. Beyond block leadership. Building marketplaces. From. Unlabeled. Button. Tech builders. Unlabeled. Button. Unlabeled. Button. Unlabeled. With Samaya Benham, Matt Newell, and Ian Fliflet, join Ian Fliflet, the Chief Growth Officer at Red Hot Consumer Marketplace Offer, will be sharing his strategies and perspective on what it takes to run, build, and grow a world-class marketplace. Might be recorded by host circle. Out of list.
I'll talk about that. Might be recorded by host message in a minute. So a lot of the scheduled events are, Clubhouse started out really as a networking app for different professions. So those will be the more set piece events. Sometimes regular chat things are scheduled. There's a Jaws club for the blind on here. So Visparo are very active on Clubhouse. The various vice presidents there feature on it quite heavily. So they have regular sessions where you can brush up on your Jaws tips. That might be where we take the blind Android users club. We don't know yet. We shall have to think about that. So in here, you don't necessarily have to go in and look at this. Scheduled events it thinks you'll be interested in will also pop up at the top of your hallway. I promise we will get to the actual hallway in a bit. I want to show you the first thing it said though in this screen, which was
upcoming for you.
So upcoming for you. You can double tap on this.
Clubhouse. What would you like to see? Upcoming for you. List. My events.
So I can see my events, the things I've scheduled. So I'm going to see what's in here. There shouldn't be anything, but it will show me how I can create an event.
Clubhouse. My events. Out of list. Unlabeled. Button. List. There are no upcoming events. Add one. List. There are no list. Unlabeled. Button.
So I have an
list. There are no upcoming events. Add one.
So it's telling me to add an event.
List. Unlabeled. Button.
I have a helpful unlabeled button here. I'm going to assume that's add an event.
No next link. Cancel. New event. Publish. Disabled. Public. Event name. Edit box. With Edward Green. And list. With. Double tap to active. Event name. Edit box. Out of list.
So I can give it an event name. Why don't we call it?
Showing English. Capital T. Fourth. Capital T. A. K. L. L. K. L. K. K. N. E. E. A. C. C. K. K. K.
I've called it Talkback.
New event. Publish. Editing. Talkback. Edit. With Edward Green. And list. Add a co-host or guest. Out of list. Add a co-host or guest. With Edward Green. Add a co-host or guest. Out of list. Date. Add a co-host or guest.
So it says with Edward Green, add a co-host or guest. Now, what I would like to do, and I think I can do it on iOS, is I'd like to be able to schedule a room to take place in the Blind Android Users Club. I think this is one of the club management features currently missing on Android, which hopefully will be added soon. Don't worry though, I do have that pesky iOS device when we do start running clubs in Anger. I'm just going to see if it lets me add a club as a co-host, which might solve our problem. I don't think it will though.
Keyboard hidden with done button. Search edit box. Cameron Morel. Row 1. Matthew Cooper. Ariane Abs. Andrew West. Row 2. Ariane. Matthew. Cameron Morel. Search edit box. Out of grid.
No, it's only offering me people. I'll put in blind Android users there. You never know.
L. I. Editing with. Showing items 13 to 22 of 22 with done button. Editing. Samara Hussein. Stuart Beveridge.
No.
Tommy Corbo. Annie Morris. Lucia Bellini. Michelle DeCat.
It's not going to let me do it.
Chris Ainsworth. Row 1.
So those are my various people on Clubhouse. So I'm going to try and back out of that.
Showing items 1 to home button. With Lord Fedento Danny Fly edit box with done button. Fly edit box search. Double tap and hold to lock. Tommy Corboy row 4 column 9 and with double tap to add done button. Date. May 13th. So
May 13th. Let's see how easy it is to change the date.
Previous month. Button. Next month. May 1st, 20. May 2nd. May 3rd. May 4th. May 5th. May 6th. May 7th. May 8th. May 11th. Today. Selected. May 13th. May 14th, 2021. Double.
Put it for
Selected.
Friday.
Description. Edit box. 1800. Time. May 31st, 2021. Double. Time. 1800. Double tap. Description. Edit box. 200 characters remaining. 200 characters. Description. 1800.
And there's a time here.
5. Button. 6. 7. 59. Button. 7. 6. Edit. 5. 1800. 5. Button. 6. Edit box. 7. Button.
So I could
6.
change this, I think, to...
Double tap to add a co-host guest. Date. May 14th.
So it changed the date properly.
1800. 5. Button. 6. Edit box.
So I'm going to change... Slightly confusingly, it's got the time given in the 24-hour clock, but then the time increments given in the 12-hour clock. I'm not sure that's strictly necessary. I'll stick to 24 hours though, because then I won't have tedious things to decide, like whether I want it to AM or PM.
01. Button. Time. 002. 8. 0. 8. 5. 2.
I'll put it at 11. 20.
With talkback. Edit box. With Edward Green. Add a co-host or guest. Out of list. Date. May 14th. Time. 1800. 5. Button. Editing. 2. Edit box. 6. 3. Dash. 3. 2. With Edward Green. Add a code. Date. May 14th. Time. 1800. 5. Button. Editing. 2. 7. Button.
Yeah.
59. Button.
Interesting. It hasn't let me do that.
3 replace 2. 300 PM. 59. Button. 4. Button. Time. Date. Add. Date. May 14th. Time. 1500. 2. Button. 3. Edit box.
So it didn't let me enter it in a 24-hour clock, even though that's how it's done it, which is interesting. So let's see if I have any joy using a 12-hour clock.
4. Button. 2. Port. 1. 1. 1. 1. Next. Andrew Webb. 1100 PM.
Ah, that has
No next
worked.
link. No reading. With talkback. Edit box. With Edward Green. Add a co-host or guest. Out. Date. May 14th. Time. 2300.
So I typed it in the 12-hour clock and then hit the next key in the bottom right-hand corner.
10. Button. 11. 12. Button. 59. Button.
And here you can say 59. So that's where I would go and enter the minutes, which would work in the same way.
00. Edit box. 01. Button. AM. Button. PM. Edit box. Description. Edit box.
We have PM, which is right. Here I could add a description about what the event is. I've got 200 characters for that.
Cancel. Double. New event.
There's a cancel
Publish.
and there's a publish. So if I were to fill in that description and publish the event, cancel and publish are both at the top of the screen, by the way, not the bottom, we would have an event all ready to go. I'm going to cancel it because I don't want that event.
Box. Event name. With Edward Green. Talkback. Publish. New event. Cancel. List. Back. Button. My events. Back.
So that's the My Event section.
Showing item device. Upcoming notifications.
Now, notifications. Clubhouse sends you a lot of notifications. It will notify you about events. Perhaps people you are following have started events, or there are events in the clubs you've joined or are following. It will notify you if contacts are starting a room, if there are trending rooms, if people have just joined you might want to follow, or if someone has joined who might need approving. So there are a lot of notifications potentially. Normal is a lot. I think there's a frequent option. We'll go and look at that in settings in a minute. But yeah, there are quite a lot of notifications. So you might want to be judicious about what you let Clubhouse send you.
Search button. Device. Upcoming event. Notification. My profile button. 22:0.
And now we're on the last of these 5 buttons, which is My Profile.
No next link. Back button. Share button. Settings button.
So you can share your profile. There's a settings button.
My photo button. Edward Green.
You can put a photo up. There's your name,
Edward 0481.
my username.
59 followers. 59.
I've got 59 followers
80 following.
and I'm following 80 people. Now, what's quite interesting, if you go into this, I said you could search for followers or people to follow. Sorry, you can't search for followers. You can search for people to follow, but you can also see who they are following. So if I go into
59 followers. Double 80 following.
the people that are following me,
No next link. Michelle Duquette, legally blind. Use fan of it still in Amy Grant. Follow Twitch. Jan Longbold, global entrepreneur flag. Then follow Twitch. Music and show YouTube. H asterisk play button. Follow Matthew Warren. I am totally blind. Follow Twitch. James Austin. Follow. Switch. Tim Schwartz. I'm a lucky husband and proud. Follow. Switch. Follow. Lucia Bellini. I. Follow. Switch. Paul Beebe. Technique. Following. Switch. Hop. Anna Morris. I am totally blind. Follow. Switch. Taylor Joyously. App. Follow. Switch. Follow. Double tap to toggle. Stuart Beveridge. I work for a charity in Scotland called Seascape was the assistant technology draw. I work for a charity in Scotland called Seascape was the assistant.
So various people. Now, if I double tap on Stuart here,
Options. Profile photo. Follow. Switch. Follow. See suggestions for users to follow. Button. Stuart Beveridge.
so WhatsApp. Clubhouse can suggest people I might want to follow.
Follow you. 152 followers. 69 following. 69.
Now, if I click on either of these, 152 followers and 69 following, I can see who he follows. And if I click on them, I can see who's following them and who they're following. So you can build up your Clubhouse network pretty quickly just by, once you started to follow people, see who they're following. When you search for people, see who they're following, and all the rest of it. So what you can't do here just now on the Android version is you can't link your other social media profiles. So on the iOS version, you can link Twitter and Instagram. You can't do that right now. I'm going to come back out of the various follow screens.
Search button. Device. Upcoming notification. My profile. 2200. My profile.
I'm going to go back into my profile and take you very briefly into
Next link.
settings.
Back button. Share. Settings button. Go next link. Back button. Settings. Notifications. Frequency. Normal.
So I've got frequency on notifications set to normal. I could go in.
Clubhouse. Notification. Very frequent. Frequent. Normal. Infrequent.
Very frequent, normal, and infrequent. I shudder to think what either very frequent or frequent are like. Normal is plenty. So include trending rooms in your notifications is on. If you're following a lot of people and don't really care what's trending, you might not want to bother doing that. You can pause notifications. What's new and FAQ/contact us. It is worth checking those. They are updated. It's there. I found out the sorts of features that weren't available on Android. That and not being able to use them. I wasn't sure always whether there was a talkback issue or quite what the problem was, but it was indeed the fact that some of those features aren't available, and that was confirmed in the what's new and in the FAQ/contact us. Community guidelines,
privacy policy, log out,
all that good legal stuff. Is worth reading the legal stuff on Clubhouse. I said one of the events we looked at said it was going to be recorded. Clubhouse doesn't allow you to record things natively. They record a room while it's in progress in case anything's reported, but apparently once you then leave the app and that room's closed, once that room's closed, once everybody's left it, that recording is not kept. So Clubhouse content is pretty ephemeral. That means people who want to use it for podcasting have to find some other means of recording it, and they are advised to specify when they are doing that they're being recorded, because obviously Clubhouse doesn't let you record. And doesn't enable you to record. So that's why you'll sometimes see rooms are being recorded. So it's kind of content is immediate on Clubhouse. There's no archive. There's no going back to it natively anyway. So we finally finished all the boring settings. So we can actually look at some of the stuff in the hallway. And I might go to some of my clubs in a minute just to show you what the club view is like, although it's not particularly exciting with no club management available. But let's have a flick through, see what we've got.
Next link. Profile photo. Edward Green.
Back out of profile. Sorry, I forgot we had to do that.
Next link. It's the Open Circle. Your Open Circle. Hosted by Your Open Circle. Stephen, Ali, Paul, Neil, 17 listening, 7 speakers. Double tap to activate. So
we have there an Open Circle is a club I'm a member of. They've got a fairly free-form room on by the looks of it.
Hosted by Dodge Radio. Stephen, Grant, Reed, Andrew, 7 listening, 7 speakers. Double tap to activate.
That's not part of a club. You see there was no club name there. That's just a social room that people I've followed have set up.
Palestine under attack, Gaza under fire, civilians dead flat, Palestinian territories, Stephen, Ad, Email, Janelle, listening, Cameron, 322 listening, 25 speakers, Middle East. So clearly something discussing the latest troubles in the Middle East. Hindu extremists rooting in the image of CH and in the world, Stephen, Bakashi, Samantha, attack, listening, Matthew, 81 listening, 16 speakers. Yeah, Clubhouse is getting quite political tonight, isn't it? Hindu live piano bar from my living room, hosted by live piano bar from home, Stephen, Mark, Sai, Alvin, listening, Stephen, 22 listening, 12 speakers. So people do use Clubhouse for media performances, so music. They'll do it to record their podcast. This piano bar is really nice and chilled. I'm going to show you a room, and I'm going to
have to do this and then hurriedly turn the media volume down, because strictly speaking, I'm not supposed to. We're not supposed to record Clubhouse content, as I've just said. But I would like to show you what the inside of a room looks like, so you can see what you do. So you may hear a little bit of it, but it'll be the briefest of interludes when I'm going to double tap this piano bar room.
Showing items 1 to 14 of 28.
I don't actually work it. So all the way down. I doubt much of that came out because it sounded like they were in an interlude. So now in this room, you can see the various different people in it.
Live piano bar, row 2. I'll live piano bar from my living room, row 1. Club, live piano bar from home. Options, button. Mark, row 2, column 1.
Let's see what
options
options we've got.
Clubhouse, share room, search room. Report audio problem. Search room, share room.
I don't want to do any of that. I could share it, I could search it, I could say there's a problem. There is a problem, I've got no sound, but that's because I've turned my volume down. Now, the buttons you're going to want to know about here are towards the bottom of your screen. If you've got a navigation bar enabled, as I have, they'll be slightly above that, but generally speaking, at the bottom.
Leave quietly, button out of grid.
Leave quietly is the bottom left. There's no other way to leave, really. You enter and leave quietly. You're not obviously notified.
Raise hand, button. Leave quietly, button. Hit someone, raise hand, but hit someone into the room, button.
And then towards the right-hand side, you've got ping someone into the room. So let's say I'm in a room and it's about cricket or something, and I think Austin's going to be interested. I can hit this ping. I can invite him. Now, raised hand. So I mentioned very briefly earlier on this idea of a stage. So when you come into a room, you are in the audience. Almost, unless you're an admin of the club, in which case you'll already be on stage. So because Clubhouse caters for various different things, including one-man presentations in front of hundreds of people, it's not like Zoom where everyone's empowered to speak. You are in the audience and can't really do anything other than listen. If you want to speak, you need to be invited up on stage, and that's what this raise hand button does. So I'm going to hit this and hope someone invites me.
Raise hand, button. Raise your hand. This will let the speakers know you have something you'd like to say. Never mind, button. Raise hand, button. Clubhouse, raise hand, button. Oh, button. Leave quietly, button. Hit someone, raise hand, button.
Nah, so that's interesting. It's not showing me I've got my hand raised. There's no status change. I wonder if it will show me
bar from my living room, row 1, left side, row 2,
if I'm invited up.
Row 3, Sharon, row 4, Lynn, row 5, followed by the speakers, row 6. Home, button, out of grid, leave Lynn, row 5, Sharon, row 4, Claire, row 3, side, row 2, live piano bar from club, live piano bar from home. Options, button, Mark, row, side, Calvin, John, Claire, Ray, Paula, Sharon, Lone, Neela, Lynn, Nama, followed Elizabeth, row 7, Maria G, Fatima, Stephen, Sherry, Nicole, column 7, Ferris Beanie, column, raise hand, button, out of grid, pick someone into the leave quiet, Edward, row 11, column 7, Ray, column 4, Ray, Edward, column 7, Maria G, followed by this, Lynn, column 5, maybe later, button, out of grid.
So they have asked me if I want to join.
Join a speaker, button, maybe later, button. Waving hand, medium, light skin tone, size, invited you to join as a speaker. Show, maybe later, button.
So that appeared near the top of my screen. It's possible that I was flicking past that and interrupted the notification. But if you have been invited up, it will appear above the list of people in the room.
Join a speaker, button. Maybe later, button.
So if I join a speaker, I'm going to be off mute. The etiquette is to go immediately on mute until you're actually speaking. The mute button is where the raise hand button was in the bottom right hand corner. So if you do hit join a speaker, do then immediately go and hit that mute button, because you may well be unmuted at the time. So I'm going to actually hit maybe later because I don't want to join. And now I'm going to leave quietly. So I'm very sorry, whoever's room that was, that I just exploited it for my own purposes and for the purposes of the podcast. We didn't, though, record anything we shouldn't have done because, as I say, I turned the volume down straight away and it did serve its purpose. So, as I say, it could be that I swiped and missed the notification, but as I say, if you don't hear anything, check near the top of the screen because that is where the little banner will pop up enabling you to join. But it's interesting that the status of the raise hand button isn't reflected. let me go and show you what else you can do. Start a room. Let's do this. So I'm going to do this not in a club at the minute. I'm just going to hit start a room. That'll be near the bottom of the feed, the bottom of the hallway. You have a few rooms on your hallway to start with, and then just before the start a room, you'll have.
Hosted by Todd. Alice under attack. Alice proved to be fake. Late not speaking. Portia Williams. Eyes watch. Go face with tears of joy. Afternoon delight. Word up. How will humans ever make it to Adam out the podcast? As the first ever tattoo NFT drop with Bell. Ferris Rod reunion part 2 recap. Presented by Club Ellen shows ending. Thoughts.
So these are all just different. So explore to see more rooms is what you'll have before start a room. So it'll give you, I don't know how many on your feed. It does seem to vary a little bit, maybe 10 or 15. But if you want to see more, hit that start a room button. As I say, if you're not following many people or aren't in many clubs, what you will see on there will be a little bit varied. You'll get a fair amount of foreign language content potentially, because it will just show you rooms from all over the place if you haven't really followed anyone. So, and depending on what time of day you log in, but yeah, that's something to bear in mind. Let's click start a room.
Clubhouse. Add a topic button. Selected. Open. Row 1. Column 1. Social. Column. Closed. Club. Blind Android users. Row 2.
So this is good. Here I can pick what sort of a room it is. I went through these at the start, if you remember.
Selected. Open. Column 1.
Open room. Anyone can join it.
Social. Column 2.
Social. My followers and anyone who joins the room's followers. Closed. It's whoever I decide to invite.
Club. Blind Android. Club. Sports Bar and Grill.
Or I can have it in any of the clubs I'm a member of.
Club. Blind Android users. Club. Sports Bar and Grill. Club. The Blind Alliance. Club. Jaw Software F/T Blind. Row 3. Column 1.
That's interesting. The Spyro let me create rooms in their club. That's very nice of them.
Club. True Crime Talks. Column 2. Start a room open to everyone. Out of grid. Party Hopper. Let's go. Button. Start a room open to everyone.
And that thing there, start a room open to everyone, is just reflecting whatever I've selected previously. So if I were to select a club instead, let's select blind Android users.
Selected. Club.
And if I flick right now,
Club. Start a room for blind Android users members. Out of grid.
Start a room for blind Android users members.
Party Hopper. Let's go. Button.
And there's the let's go button. So I could go in there and do that. There are other things I could show you here. So, but this demo is already getting quite long. We could look at what happens if you're a moderator in a room. So that's where essentially you are looking out for people whose hands might be raised, and where you invite them to the stage, or you might want to put them back in the audience. That might have to be for another time, though. One, because I don't have anyone lined up who I can manipulate in a club and throw out of a club right now. And also, as I say, because this demo is getting pretty long. What I should say, though, is if you want a much more comprehensive look at Clubhouse from a blindness perspective, that will talk you over many of the principles, you could do a lot worse than check out Jonathan Mosen's podcast episode that he did on the Mosen at Large podcast. I can't remember the episode number, but it was a good hour and a half on Clubhouse where he demonstrates it. It is on the iPhone, but absent the features which don't exist on Android yet, the operation, to be honest, is pretty similar. So if he demonstrate, if you listen to that in terms of how the platform works, if you want to know more about it, if you want to know more about some of the pitfalls, then I would recommend that even for Android users. It's a great resource, and he does demonstrate how to manipulate people when you're hosting a room. So I hope you like Clubhouse. Do join the Blind Android Users Club. Search for us. We'll probably put our details in the how to get in touch with us at the end of the episode. And yeah, do write in. Let us know what you think about Clubhouse. Well, I hope that was useful. There are increasing numbers of people with Android joining Clubhouse. I'm conscious that I haven't finished that demo yet. What I haven't shown you is how you can manipulate people within a room. So if you're a moderator, you can invite people up on stage. You can see who's got their hands up. You can put them back in the audience. That is something I will look to do. But I think, are all of us on Clubhouse now? Has everyone signed up?
I think so.
Well, even I, who is not the social networking kind of guy, I finally dragged myself into it yesterday. So yours truly faithfully is there now. And if you see my knucklehead out there, I'm definitely in there. So I will be doing some activity there on our clubhouse, in our club, whatever. What do you call it? Is that going to be our club
It's a
room?
club.
It's a club, yeah.
Our
Club.
club?
Yeah. So you create rooms within clubs. So if you do want to do some activity, go into the club and hit the start room button, and that will create a club room. The club without a room going on is just a list of names, really. So the admins have to go in and actually into the club and start a room to make something happen. And you can have more than one room in a club.
You can also have just a room without it being associated with a club too.
So. You can, yeah. So anyone who wants to talk about Android outside of the Blind Android Users Club can do that. It'll just be a bit harder to find.
Yeah, but we'd rather have you do it within the Blind Android users so that people will find where you're at, right?
Yeah, exactly. But only we can create rooms in that. Only the admins can. So people just have to be patient till one of us does it.
It's actually a really great app, I think. I definitely swore that I would not get on it until the Android version came out. Everybody on the other side on the iOS said, jump on Clubhouse, where are you? And I'm like, well, it's still not on Android. So, but finally we've gotten it, and I'm just waiting for them to make more updates because we still have the old version of Clubhouse, and it's definitely not the same as the iOS version yet, but they are releasing it slowly and making lots of updates. So I'm looking forward to that.
They update it quickly. I mean, there are things that the Android version doesn't do very well. I mean, there are things it doesn't do at all, which is annoying, but there are also things it doesn't do very well. So in the demo, I discussed that I wasn't sure if TalkBack notified you when someone accepts your invitation to speak. If you put your hand up, because I was flicking around, I didn't know if TalkBack told you that you'd been invited up. It doesn't. iOS now, it'll auto-focus and tell you. In TalkBack, it makes a noise and the audio quality from your speaker changes, and the little banner comes up at the top of the screen. So if you hear the beep and your audio change, you'll know. I don't think it puts itself as aggressively into the foreground as the iOS version does.
I see. What I would love to see, though, that I didn't see, and I was just kind of thinking loud to myself, was that I wish it would tell you when you see the names of people on the screen, and then you would know who is talking, you know, like if you come across the person that is
the iOS version
speaking.
does that too. With a
Oh, it does that?
Yeah, it does it. The iOS does. Hopefully they'll add it to Android.
Yeah, hopefully
I'm sure they will. The other thing they need to do is tell you whether your hand's up.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know the thing with iOS, you can do a 2-finger double tap and it'll tell you who's currently speaking. And I'm not sure how they will transfer that over to Android, but hopefully they find a way to do that. But also, it does not tell you if people are muted when you're swiping through the room. It doesn't tell you, you know, if they're muted or not muted. And that's something I'm waiting for them to fix.
I think this is probably one of the reasons why it's not being rolled out to everybody except through invitation. But I think in general, I kind of like the UI is nice and clean.
I really want the club admin features at the minute, because if I want to invite someone who's followed the club to join the club, I have to hook out my dusty old iPhone from the bottom of the drawer where it deserves to live and promote it undeservedly to use and let people join, which I'm doing very often because I don't want to keep people waiting. But when that feature comes to the Android app, I'll be a happy founder.
Yeah, I'll be happy when they let you make clubs on Android, because right now we don't even have that functionality.
Yeah, that's right. Although if you're very new, you can't make clubs anyway. You have to be active. I tried to do it early on, and it just said I wasn't important enough. I hadn't been using it often enough, and I should go away and try later and get a bit more active. And who did I think I was, basically?
Yeah, I don't know about this, but I was reading about this thing, and I hope it's not another repeat of Zoom, because there was some stuff out there that was saying, hey, you know, they have their back end in China, and so they were denying that, no, we have our stuff in the US, and I hope we're not having another repeat of a Zoom debacle here, you know?
Yeah, I felt sorry for Zoom, though. I mean, it grew very quickly, and the people that were really finding reasons to criticize it, you know, bigger companies with chat apps had their own issues previously. And I think, Zoom's tried, hasn't it? We might not like everything it's decided to do, but it has tried to fix its vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and I think that really helps Zoom because now we have a better Zoom than what it was. And I think it's good that these things is coming early on Clubhouse, and I hope that the issues get addressed too, because they're talking about security, and that's important.
Yeah.
The best feature that I like is, let's say you're talking on a club room with without headphones and your speaker is on, then no one can hear your talk back. Only you can hear. That is the best feature. I don't know how they do it, but that is a very nice feature.
It is good. They can hear your haptics, though, I discovered yesterday. The OnePlus has very loud haptics if you don't disable them.
My issue with Clubhouse is because most of the time I use Bluetooth headphones, and for some reason I cannot get my input to be my Bluetooth. It's just stuck on the actual device microphone, and so I always have to be holding the actual phone if I do want to talk. And I mean, this is just, it's obviously still in beta for the Android version, but has anybody experienced that, or is it just my phone or something?
I don't think it is your phone. Someone said on the email list they were having problems with this. I haven't tried it, to be honest. It's still in beta for iOS, by the way, as well, after a year.
Oh, is it still in beta for iOS too? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they say Clubhouse as a service is in beta. It's not in beta insofar as you need to be on test flight, literally in beta, but they're describing the whole thing as being in beta.
It is in beta. Well, yesterday when I was talking with those girls, I had my headset on. Now, what I should have done was to leave my phone in the house. And maybe after this, we could try it real quick and see. I'll leave my phone upstairs and go outside and see if you guys can hear me or something like that.
Excellent. Yeah, so do check out Clubhouse. It's on the Play Store, or there's an APK mirror link, which is in the YouTube notes, I think, to the demo. We'll add it to the show notes as well. Moving on to our App of the Week section then, and following our brief discussion of web views last time, Warren is going to show us how to manipulate web views with a brief demo.
This is Managing Web Views. In our last segment on web views, we talked about the history of web views and the important role that they play on our phones, most especially when it comes to apps. Today, however, I'll be talking about how to manage those web views. In our last segment, we talked about the 4 different web views, all provided by Google. I am now on the Play Store where these web views are located. I have installed a couple of these on my phone, and I may be installing yet a third. Here is what I've got. I am using, by the way, a TTS from our friend Olga from Russia called the RH Voice. And this is the SLT voice variant. So here's what we've got.
App, Android System WebView Canary Google LLC Tools Star Rating, 4.1 100,000 plus downloads.
So the Canary is having a 4.1 rating.
App, Android System WebView Beta Google LLC Tools installed.
I have installed that one.
App, Android System WebView Google LLC Tools installed.
So I got a couple installed.
App, Android System WebView Dev Google LLC Tools Star Rating, 3.9 100,000 plus downloads.
So that makes a total of 4. Now here's how you go about managing these web views. We have 2 different ways of managing these web views. In other words, switching those web views. You could either go to the system settings and manage them that way and choose which one you want to use, or from the Play Store, once you install one, then you just tap on Open. And since I'm here on the Play Store, how about we do that? So I'm going to find one of those that I have installed, and then we'll tap on Open.
Android System WebView Beta Google LLC.
I will now tap on the Open of this web view.
Open button. WebView DevTools, More Options button.
When you tap on Open, here's what we find.
WebView Package, COM Google Android WebView Beta, 91.0.4472.35
In order to make it our default or switch to it, we need to tap on the More Options found near the top right corner of the phone. I will now tap on that More Options found near the top right corner of the phone.
More Options button. Pop-up window. Change web view provider in list.
The first item that we have here is Change Web View Provider, and that's exactly what we want. If you want to explore what else is there, here's what else is here.
Report web view bug. Check for web view updates. About web view dev tools.
So now I'm going to go up to Change Web View Provider.
Report web view bug. Change web view provider selected. Web view implementation. Navigate up button out of list.
Tapping on Change Web View Provider, here's what we've got.
Radio button not checked. Android system WebView 90.0.4430.210 in list. Radio button checked. Android system WebView beta 91.0.4472.35.
We are told that I am currently using the beta WebView. And if I want to use the stable version, which is the one that comes by default,
radio button not checked. Android system WebView 90.0.4430.210. Checked. WebView DevTools.
I simply tap on that, and now I have that WebView now running as my default. Now, to do it from the system settings, all that we need to do is do the following. Go ahead and pull down your quick panel setting, or you could use the assistant and say
settings.
Open system settings or something to that effect. I'm going to find my open settings and tap on it.
Page 1 of 3, open settings. Settings.
I tapped on Open Settings, and instead of me to go look for web views in my settings, the quickest way to do it is simply make a search for WebView.
Beep search settings. Search settings edit.
So I just tap on Search Settings, and I'm going to simply say WebView.
P. Voice input.
WebView. And now I tap on Search.
Search. Keyboard hidden.
I'm going to take a look now at my result, and here's the results that we've got.
About phone in list. System WebView license. About phone greater than apps ampersand notifications. Android system WebView beta app info.
That is the one I want. Now, if I want to switch to the beta one, this is the one that I'll be tapping on.
Android system WebView app info.
That's my default. Now, whether I tap on this one or tap on the other one above, we will get to the same place. So I'm just going to go back to the one that says beta and tap on that beta.
Android system WebView.
Tap here.
App info. Navigate up.
In here, what we want to tap on is the item that says open.
Open button. WebView DevTools. More options button out of list.
Tapping on that takes us to that very same screen that we saw when we were on the Play Store, when we opened it on the Play Store. So now again, just like we did on the Play Store, we need to tap on the More Options found near the top right corner. I will now tap on that More Options found near the top right corner.
More options button. Pop-up window. Change WebView provider in list.
And again, we need to tap on Change WebView Provider.
Change WebView provider selected. WebView implementation.
Tapping on that Change WebView Provider, now we're taken to that screen that has the radio buttons from which to choose. And here are our options.
Radio button checked. Android system WebView 90.0.4.
Let's go change it to the beta.
Radio button not checked. Android system WebView beta 91.0.4472.
Go ahead and tap here.
Checked. WebView DevTool.
And that's it. We have just switched back to the WebView beta. And that's how you go about managing your web views. Thanks for listening.
Thanks very much, Warren. And this really does attract quite a lot of interest. I've seen 2 or 3 threads on web views on email lists this week, so it's clearly something people are grappling with.
Next, we have Marion Mosen bringing us episode 4 of her series on the commentary screen reader.
Commentary screen reader, or the Chinese screen reader, has gotten really popular among blinds and visually impaired recently. And here, on the Blind Android Users podcast, we will have a series of episodes in which we will talk about how to use the screen reader and how to get the best out of it. And welcome to episode number 4 of CSR's Basics. In today's episode, we will talk about menus, and it's all about what magic can CSR's menu do. So let's get right into it. Before we actually talk about things of today's episode, I just want to point something out that in the latest update of CSR, we do have some changes. One of them is that it's the rotor now works the same way as TalkBack. What does that mean is that now if you want to get to the previous or the next type of navigation, because a lot of people have already asked about that, you would swipe up and down in one scroll. So like that.
Copy.
It's kind of bad.
Speech rate.
I agree.
Default.
But still, what you would do is simply swipe up and down with one scroll. It'll give you the previous type of navigation, and down and up with in one swipe, that'll give you the next type of navigation. And that works with web navigation as well. So let's go to CSR settings and see how we can customize menus. Menus here in CSR work the same way as TalkBack menus work, but with different concepts. So if we swiped down and right with in one swipe, that way,
menu,
it'll just say menu. This menu is called the main menu. Here,
more button.
If we press more,
menu, more button,
it'll give us more items, and we'll explain that in a minute. And if we press more as well,
menu, cancel button,
the more would be cancel. So cancel, what we have now is simply the main menu. The main menu has every single thing that we do have in CSR without needing to customize anything. But
menu, cancel button.
In the menu, we would have everything that we customized. For instance, we could have like select all. If we do have an edit box and we want to just select the whole edit box to delete a copy or whatever it is, we could have the navigation menu, in which we will actually explain that in a minute. We will also have voice assistant if you want it. You could have something called an app. Open an app. You can open an app through the menu. But how we could configure CSR's menu. So what we would do is, if you remember from last week, we said that if you want to go to DShow's program settings, we would open up the menu, or we would just go to settings, accessibility, and then services, and then DShow, and then settings. But here I would open it through the menu.
Menu, program settings.
Program settings.
DShow.
So, what we want to go into is
advanced settings.
Advanced settings.
Advanced set cloud backup. Backup and restore. Other settings. Menu settings.
And from there,
new notification from Outlook face.
Go to menu settings.
Power menu settings. Menu settings. Menu set. Use multi-column menu. Checkbox unchecked.
So the multi-column menu. This menu is, you have a menu with multi-column. It's multi-column menu. So that way, in the right corner of the screen, you would have items, and in the left corner of the screen, you would have other items. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes not, but for me, I don't use it.
Customize the main menu.
Customize the main menu. So the main menu, this is the menu that opens up when you just press down and right. Down and right.
Customize the multi-column menu.
We have the multi-column. If we checked this
Use multi-column menu. Checkbox unchecked.
checkbox, if we checked that, we could go to
Customize the multi-column menu.
Customize the multi-column menu, and we would customize that.
Use the floating menu. Checkbox unchecked.
Floating menu. This menu would be floating, so you could just press once you touch a certain corner on the screen, it will just give you the menu. I don't use it that way. I don't like it that way, but if you want, you can definitely do that.
Floating menu settings.
We have floating menu settings.
Menu settings.
And that's it. So let's go to
customize the main menu.
Customizing the main menu.
G-Show Plus. G-Show Plus. ADD button.
Add. That would add any feature that you want to the menu.
Default button.
Default.
Navigation menu.
So we have here
default button. Attention. Clicking OK will restore the default settings. New notification from WhatsApp.
As you see here, so if you clicked the default button, it'll reset the whole settings that we actually have set up before, and you would have it as the first time you actually have
cancel button
installed CSR. I would press cancel.
G-Show Plus. ADD default. Navigation menu. List browsing.
So here it lists everything that you customized into the main menu. So I do have some stuff that I wanted them. We have
navigation
menu.
List browsing.
Read
the whole screen. Voice assistant.
Extensions. Now, you would have some stuff that are already there, but we will know in a minute how to delete them, how to even arrange them with a certain order that you want them to be. So at first, let's see how we can add something to the main menu. So here, as I said, we have everything that we've already added, or things that the developer has added and thought that they would be useful to you when you're using the screen reader.
Navigate default button. ADD button.
Go to add.
Select.
So let's see here what we have.
Select. No command.
No command.
Plugins. Custom voice commands. Tools. Open an app.
So if we
select a navigation type,
for instance, press that chosen that, select navigation type.
Added select a navigation type.
It said added select a navigation type and
next navigation type.
It's already added. We don't need to do anything additional.
Cancel button.
To
select. Cancel. Pointing mode.
Confirm adding this thing. So if we backed up from this window.
G-Show Plus. List browsing.
And we scrolled until the end.
Select a navigation type.
We can actually see it here. It's added to the items that are there. But there's something else that I want to explain to you.
Voice assistant. ADD button.
If we press add.
Select. Plugins. Custom voice command. Tools.
There's something here.
Open an app.
Called open an app.
Open an app. Add voice aloud reader. Enter keyword text box. Open an app. Cancel button.
So here CSR gives you an amazing feature in which you could add a certain app that you want to add to the menu. Because for instance, you have an app that you open most of the times and things like that. So you can add it to the menu and you can open it through here.
Android Q Easter egg.
So you have every single app on your phone. So for instance, let's go and add
call log backup restart call settings. Drive.
Okay.
Added open an app drive.
So
select a navigation type. Open an app.
If we backed up.
Back button. Reset. G-Show. Automatic browsing. Select a navigation. Open an app drive.
Here it is. So let's see if we can find it in the menu.
Menu. Goodreads open an app.
We have Goodreads because I've already added that before.
Notification. Bottom. Top. Automatic browsing. Select a navigation type. Drive open an app.
Here it is.
Send log. Drive. Select a navigation type.
So this is the main menu and how to customize it. If you want to delete
more button. Cancel button. G-Show Plus.
Certain
G-Show Plus.
item that you no longer want in the menu.
List browsing.
What you would do is simply
read the whole voice assistant. Extensions.
If you want
program settings. Suspend voice feed. Current time.
delete
Curtain. Notification bar. Open an app. Goodreads. Bottom. Top. Open an app. Drive.
For instance. So Google Drive. What we want to do is just long click.
Move up.
Move up.
Move down.
Move down.
Delete.
And delete. So move up, it'll move it up. And move down, it'll move it down if you do have something after it. And
move up. Delete.
Delete.
Delete. Open an app. Drive. Delete. Open an app. Cancel button.
Just
OK button.
Delete it.
Deleted
from the menu. So this is simply the main menu. As I said, it works as talkback, just down and right. But there's another magical menu that you definitely will need to use, which is the actions menu. So the actions menu is a really great menu in which you could just do a lot of stuff, especially with copying, pasting, and edit box things. So how you can open the action menu with up and right swipe that way.
Action menu.
Let's see what we have here.
Clean the currently focused text box.
Clean the currently focused edit box. If you want CSR to delete the whole text box without, selecting things and stuff. We currently don't have this in TalkBack, but what we can do with it is just select all and then delete. It'll delete the whole thing.
Selection menu.
Selection menu, we explained this in copying and pasting. As I said, it gives you every single word, for instance, that as a checkbox, and you can check what you want and then copy it.
Copy.
We have copy.
Append copy.
Append copy.
Paste.
Paste. They pretty much work the same way, copy and paste, as we actually explained in the second episode, I think it was.
Clipboard menu.
We have the clipboard menu. This would have everything that you copied, even if you restart your phone. And there's a really cool thing in CSR as well that you can you can back the clipboard texts into the cloud. So once you reset your phone or reinstall CSR, you could get those back, which is great in my opinion.
Favorites.
Favorites. You can add things to favorites like text and things like that. And it's a menu.
Split editing.
Split editing. So split editing is a really cool feature in which you could just, if you have a text that you want to edit, it'll open it to you as an edit box and you can just edit it that way.
Advanced text copying.
Advanced text copying. So as I mentioned in the first episode that it's a premium feature. What you can do with that is copy the whole screen if you want, and do some other stuff with that. We will actually explain that in the next upcoming episodes.
Advanced settings button.
We have advanced settings. So advanced settings is pretty much the same one that we did see. It has the menu settings, the timer settings, and we will know about the timer in this episode actually. It's pretty great.
Cancel button.
And then we have cancel.
Input method button unavailable.
Input methods. This is only available in the premium as well. This would, if you are in edit box and you want to change on the input method, like you want to use another keyboard and things like that, you could change it through here.
Cancel button.
So
G-Show Plus.
This is pretty much the actions menu. So now we will go and explain what is the timer, since we actually have gone into the advanced settings.
Advanced settings. Advanced settings. Advanced voice assistant settings.
The voice assistant, we actually explained that in the upcoming episodes. It's a pretty cool voice assistant that CSR has, that you can use it for voice commands and things like that. You could just let it know, okay, cisband voice feedback and things like that. It works pretty well.
OCR settings.
OCR, but as I said, OCR is only available for the premium users.
Timer settings.
Timer settings. That's what I want. So we'd go here.
Timer settings. Navigate. Timer settings. Announce the time. Checkbox unchecked. Announce the specified time.
Announce the time. If you want the timer to work, first thing we need to check this checkbox. That would make CSR announce the time.
Checked.
So we check it.
Alarm interval.
Alarm
start time.
interval.
Alarm interval.
Alarm interval, this is what you want. I mean, the space between every single announcement. So the interval would be 30 minutes between if you want to, just 30 minutes between every single time announcement. So
Alarm interval.
here,
Alarm interval. Every 5 minutes unchecked.
you would tell them every 5 minutes.
Every 10 minutes unchecked.
It'll announce every 10 minutes.
Every 15 minutes unchecked.
It'll announce the time every 15 minutes.
Every 30 minutes checked.
And so on. So I would
Every 5 minutes unchecked.
check every 5
Timer
minutes,
settings.
for instance.
Alarm start time.
Alarm start time. So if you want CSR to start announcing the time from since certain time, like you wake at 6 a.m. and you just sleep at 10, so I don't want CSR to announce the time after that until you wake up the next day at 6 a.m. So here you would just specify if you want CSR to speak the time, start announcing since what time exactly in the day. Just because actually timer takes a little bit more of the battery, and sometimes I don't use it because of that. So yeah, I mean, if you want to customize that, it's possible.
Alarm start time. Alarm start. 0 checked. 1 unchecked.
So 0, it means that it's just gonna start the whole week,
2 unchecked.
the whole day.
3 unchecked. 4 unchecked. 5 unchecked.
Here CSR works with 24 hours thing, so it needs to, you need to work with that 24, 23, 22, and so on. So I'll leave it at 0.
Back button. Timer settings. Timer sound prompt. Checkbox checked.
Timer sound prompt. What does that mean is that CSR, besides announcing the time and speaking, it'll also make sound. So I'll leave it that way, yes.
Timer vibration prompt checkbox unchecked.
It'll vibrate, but I don't want that. If you want it to vibrate while announcing.
Reminder interval.
Reminder interval. So if you want the timer to remind you, I mean, if like you want, when it comes to 10, 10, 15, 10, I want it to remind me that it's past 10:15 or it's before 10:15, it'll just remind me.
Timer speech prompt checkbox unchecked.
Prompt, it means that CSR would speak. Yes, we want
Checked.
that.
Alarm end time. Alarm start time.
So here we have alarm start time and
alarm end time.
Alarm end time. So as I mentioned before, it's pretty much the same. Alarm end and alarm start.
Time manage timer.
So
timer sound prompt checkbox checked. Manage timer.
Manage timer.
Timer tags manager.
And timer tags. So about timer tags, I still didn't understand the concept of it. I've already emailed the developer, but he hasn't gotten back to me, and we are still actually trying to make sure how that could be possible. Also, we cannot have 12 hours announcement. It can't just tell you 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. When it comes to 1 p.m., it'll tell you just it's 13 hours. Still, we want that. I do want that so much because I love 12 hours clock. I don't use the 24 hours clock a lot, but some people who use it actually. So it's there, but I'm still waiting for the 12 hours thing. So we're gonna back just to make CSR confirm what we did.
Back button. Advanced settings.
And it's supposed to actually make sound
8:48 p.m.
After 2 minutes. So we will wait until it announces the time. While we're doing that, I just want to tell you that CSR updates usually every single month, unless there's a certain bug that's happened. So it's just an update that needs to be updated. As I really recommend that you update CSR as any update releases, because most of the times there are new features, and if there's no update, it means that there are no bugs or even no actually new features that need to come out to CSR. And most of the time the developer is trying to add new features and to listen to what users are saying. So yeah, it's a good thing that the developer actually is doing a lot of work.
2050.
So here it is. It said 2050. So this is the timer. Simply, it just says 2050. And by the way, you can change the sound of the timer, and we will talk about that in the next episode, because next episode we'll talk all about uh, so it's split into parts. We'll talk about web browsing with CSR, and we will talk about feedback and sound themes, and how to download sound themes from the cloud, because I know a lot of people like to use different sound themes, which isn't an available option in TalkBack. So yeah, this simply was episode 4 of CSR's basics. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do actually have any questions, do feel free to reach out to me or to the whole podcast at contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And I hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mariam. And commentary is becoming increasingly popular on our email list and Telegram group, as you know. Thanks in no small part to you and your excellent series of demos. Keep them coming.
And now, to conclude the episode, we have the My Android Journey section. And this week, as already trailed, and you've heard from already, but it comes to us from the creator of Live Accessible, Carrie Morales. Carrie.
Hey, thanks, Ed. So, wow, my Android journey has been quite interesting. First of all, I did not even want to have a smartphone. I think that there's actually a lot of us out there who definitely didn't want a smartphone, but I remember all these phones were coming out. My brother got a smartphone. Even my dad had an iPhone, and they were showing it off to me and the family and everybody. And I just looked at it and I'm like, okay, it can do all these cool things. That's fine. But what do I need a phone for? What do I need a smartphone for? You have to pay extra for data. You have to, I did not know, or on the Android side, until 4.2.2, you couldn't use magnification. And I didn't want to use a screen reader at that time. And I didn't want to get a smartphone. And I thought, what do I need a phone for? For calling, for messaging. And also, I had a phone that had buttons, and it was one of those ones that you could slide out the keyboard. And I loved my phone. I all through high school, I used to type so fast under the table, in my bag or in my purse, when we're not supposed to have our cell phones or anything. And I could type so fast, and I knew how to navigate that without even looking at the phone. And so I would be texting, I would be doing all these things. And I'm like, if I have a touch screen, how am I going to do that?
Carrie, even you doing that kind of thing, huh? Hiding that phone under the table. Oh, boy.
Yeah, everybody did that.
Oh, my.
Anyway, I ended up doing my own research on YouTube. And you know how YouTube can be. You get sucked into a rabbit hole and you start looking at video after video after video. And then I just got trapped in this Android universe of all these smartphones and comparisons of different phones and what you could do. My sister at the time, she's also visually impaired like me, and she had an iPhone 4 and they had Zoom on there. But my frustration with the Zoom on iPhone is that, especially at that time with an iPhone 4, it had I don't know, a 4-inch screen or something. And you had to use 3 fingers, and you had to do a 3-finger double tap to zoom in, and to move around the screen, you had to pan around with 3 fingers. And so my frustration was, this is such a small screen, and I'm going to use 3 fingers to block the screen to move around, and this is silly. And then I found a video. I think it must have been Sam from The Blind Life, and explaining how to use the magnification on Android. And I was like, wow, okay, you only need 1 finger, or at the most 2 fingers. And they had bigger screens, and that was very exciting. At the time, iPhones had LCD screens, And I mean, it wasn't until iPhone 10 that they moved over to OLED. And so for me, I wanted the bigger screen and I wanted an OLED screen. It's just so much more contrast. It pops more, the colors pop more. And then if it's black, the actual light is of that pixel is off completely. And it was just a lot easier to see. My mom, a little while ago, had bought a tablet and it was running Android 4.1. And it did not have the magnification gestures. And I wanted to throw that thing out the window. Because TalkBack, I didn't like it at that time. I probably didn't know how to use it very well. And just the fact that even if you crank up the font size, it just was not the best experience. And it was just a very cheap tablet that didn't have a good screen either. So we went to Best Buy. And so I just started traveling around the tables, picking up all the phones, back before COVID, long before COVID, where you could actually touch things and pick things up and try them. And I found the Samsung area. And so I just started picking up all the phones and trying them out. And I fell in love with the Samsung Galaxy S4. And actually, I believe that was my first Best Buy credit card, like my first actual credit card that was in my name. And so I jumped on it and I got the S4. And ever since then, I just absolutely fell in love with Android. All the customization, everything that you could do with it. I could change so many things, and there were so many apps that could allow you to make shortcuts. And even if it wasn't built into the system, I just you could find a way to do it. If you could think and imagine something on Android, there's probably an app for it. So I really fell in love with that. And then I moved over to the Samsung Note 4, and it had a stylus. It had quite, a lot of features, and it was one of their top of the line products. And I was so excited because it had a much bigger screen. It was one of the biggest screens in the market. And so as a low vision user, I was like, yes, I love this thing. But then I started watching more YouTube, of course, and I started getting frustrated with Samsung. There's so many features, and I really love Samsung. I started getting frustrated with Samsung, and it had all these features, which were great. But at the same time, a lot of those features did not work together. And then every time I wanted to turn on one of the features that it had, like some gestures that you could do in the air or something, it would turn off magnification, or it couldn't work with voice assistant or talkback. And I'm like, well, what is this? And so I ended up doing more research, and I now am much happier with Pixel devices. I mean, I'm not saying that Samsung devices are bad. I know a lot of people with Samsung devices, but I am just really happy with Pixel and how seamless it is, how efficient, and how just it's stock Android. You get all the updates as soon as they happen, and you just get all those new features that Google decides to give Pixel users. So that is my Android journey in a nutshell. And now I am doing videos on YouTube. A lot of them are about Android, and I have a talkback series on there. It's mostly, my channel is called Live Accessible. It's mostly geared for low vision or visually impaired users out there, but also, I do have quite a few people who are totally blind who follow me, and I have about over 5,000 subscribers now, and it's very exciting. I love sharing about technology, assistive technology, just technology in general, but also just anything about, blindness or visually impaired related in the community, and just encouraging others to live the life they want.
That is wonderful, Carrie. But you know what? You need to tell your sister to come to the right side of things. You know?
Oh, she has. She has now. But she's on Samsung, which is good. It's fine. But she, like me, she's visually impaired. So we just love a lot of the Android OLED screens and how big they are now. Apple has started to follow suit. You know, they end up trailing behind, but still, we like the customization and that you can change so many of the features on Android.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
You did a naughty thing though this week, didn't you, Carrie? Do you want to confess to listeners what that was?
Confession time.
Do you want to confess
Carrie,
to our listeners what you
confession.
did? Come on, you'll feel better. It'll cleanse the soul. Come on.
Thank you. Now, Carrie, come to the
so-
Father, and now you need to confess.
Okay, so I am a die-hard Android user, okay? But because of the fact that I am a creator and I do have a lot in my community that use iOS, and I mean, I do know how the basics of iOS. And since my husband decided to get a new iPhone, he graciously gave me, I took it, his old iPhone 10. And this past week, I did a very hilarious live stream where I set up my new iOS device for the first time. It did not go super smoothly. But I did have quite a few people come on board on StreamYard with me, and they were supposed to help me, but they ended up laughing at me. And some of them encouraged me to throw the iOS device out the window. But I mean, I want to have both, but I can never see a world where I will be, just using an iOS device. It's going to be my second device, and like more of a backup one, and one that I just want to know how to use. And honestly, to be honest, when did I do that stream? Like 2 days ago,
I think
believe.
a couple of days ago, yeah.
And I still cannot log into my Apple ID, and I cannot download any apps, and I haven't tried. And it's just sitting on my night table, and I don't think I've picked it up, and I'm not sure if it even still has charge.
You have been
Well,
justified.
Carrie, you've shown great bravery and honesty, confessing in front of millions of users. And I think, Warren, can we absolve her? Austin, can we absolve Carrie?
That was the most entertaining stream ever. At the end, I thought the iPhone was going to fly out of the window.
Oh my!
At the end of the stream, I really thought that.
Oh, yes.
Carrie, you have been justified, okay? So, no guilt. You impute that guilt into me, and I'll impute the righteousness of Android.
Well, thank you. I'll have to redeem myself somehow. It's very interesting, though. The reception I got was a lot of laughter, but also there were Android users like, I'll never touch an iOS device. And then the iOS users saying, oh, you finally joined the iOS team. And I'm like, neither of those are.
Where's Yannick? I want to hear a dump on the air,
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Beautiful.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Carrie. Austin, can you close us out and tell us how people can find us?
Yeah, so to find us out, people can visit our website, that is blindandroidusers.com. If you have any questions, you want some categories to be covered of apps, some more categories to be added, then you can send us an email to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. You can join our mailing list by sending in an email to blind Android users plus subscribe at groups.io. You can join us on Telegram and Twitter. The links will be in the show notes. And you can now join us on Clubhouse. Even that information will be in the show notes. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are nearing 150 subscribers. In that, this is, I think, just over a month. So we're nearing 150 subscribers.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome. Well, thank you to all of you for inviting me on here. It was definitely a lot of fun. And, if anybody does want to check out my channel, it's just Live Accessible. You can check it out on YouTube. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and Clubhouse, and TikTok at Live Accessible. So thanks, Warren, Ed, and Austin.
And we'll have the
Thanks,
links in
Carrie.
the show notes. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
will be in the
Thanks,
show notes
everyone.
as well. Thank you so much, guys. Have that wonderful day. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine out there if you're living somewhere where it's still shining, that is. And that has been another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. As always, we appreciate hearing from you. You send those email messages to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. For those My Android Journey stories, we encourage you to send those to myandroidjourney@blindandroidusers.com. Until we see you in our next episode, you have a wonderful day.